I've decided not to be a candidate for re-election. There's a natural time for all life's adventures to come to an end, and this period of 36 years would seem about right from the viewpoint of service in the Senate. I know I'll miss more than anything else the people of Rhode Island, from it's been a very real pleasure to serve these 36 years. They are fine, caring people, put their trust in me, tolerated my eccentricities, gave me great affection, and I only hope and pray that I repaid their trust and served them faithfully.
Good evening again. I'm Doug White. Well, he's a legend in Rhode Island politics and a highly respected senator on Capitol Hill, to be sure. But these accolades were not just given to Claiborne Pell. He's earned them during his 36-year career. Now the statesman is saying goodbye, at least to the U.S. Senate. Diana Kelch brings us today's announcement. The longest-serving U.S. senator in Rhode Island history decides to step aside.
With his 2 daughters, a granddaughter, and his wife, Senator Claiborne Pell came once again into the limelight he so often during his 36 years shied away from. This time into a packed room, with staff, some holding back tears, to make the announcement that has been the speculation of Rhode Island political circles for half a decade.
I decided not to be a candidate for re-election. There's a natural time for all life's adventures to come to an end, and this period of 36 years would seem about right from the viewpoint of service in the Senate.
Pell says he was tempted to stay, tempted to fight the negative impression Americans seem to have of the body he was so honored to serve in.
I know it's fashionable today to malign the Congress, malign the federal government, malign those who serve the public in elective office. I consider, though, that the United States Senate, a marvelous institution, full of talented, committed men and women.
Tempted to stay to fight for his key programs he pushed, calling himself a forward-thinking Democrat, programs that today are threatened by Republicans.
This is one of the things that made me, anguished me, as to whether to continue or not, and I'm very upset. It bothers me a great deal as I see these programs being dismantled.
It's a very hard decision for him to make, but he made it. Nobody's ever gotten him to do anything they wanted to do. He's always made his own decisions. But I'm glad that he made it this way.
Nuala Pell made no secret she didn't want her husband to run again, commit to another 6 years in the Senate. They've been married for half a century, and he'd always been involved in public service.
I remember that truck so well.
Painting on the beach.
Today, she sifted through pictures of the past 3.5 decades in the spotlight. Now, with 4 children, the 2 daughters, Julia and Dallas, present today, and 5 grandchildren, the senator has talked about spending more time with his family.
You're gonna have him around the house all the time and have to put up with all those things? As his friend, are you relieved to see that he's going to hopefully take it easy?
No, I think taking it easy is one of the worst things you can do, particularly for a man of his age.
Senator Pell says he feels vital despite a recent diagnosis of a mild case of Parkinson's disease.
I feel strong and healthy and ran my 2 miles yesterday.
Now one of the senator's chief priorities will be to campaign for a Democratic successor and to assist in President Clinton's re-election.
He served our country with intelligence, vision, and passion, and I believe deserves another term.
Senator Pell, who has worked closely with both Democrat and Republican presidents, said he believes President Clinton is sadly underrated. And in many ways, the same can be said of Pell. His accomplishments are countless, but because he shuns the limelight, he seldom gets national recognition, and his style has even caused critics to call him ineffective without consensus-building skills. Criticism he takes in stride, and he's seldom angered. And on a personal note, in the years I've covered Senator Pell, a dozen in all, I've never heard him launch a personal attack on political opponents. And even when disagreeing on issues, he's diplomatic and patient, something I'm sure, Doug, you've experienced as well.
I have, Diana, and that's certainly one of the man's great strengths. Diana, thank you very much. On literally every continent and in almost every classroom in the United States, Senator Pell's presence has been felt, but as much as he's done for the country and for the world, he is first and foremost a Rhode Islander. We're honored to have had him, and he's proud to have served. Frank Coletta takes a look now at Pell's long career.
Pell was born to wealth and to politics. His father, Herbert Pell, was a New York congressman. His great-great-granduncle was once a vice president of the United States. But that doesn't mean politics came easily. In 1960, Claiborne Pell was not a household name, so he had to do a lot of old-fashioned grassroots campaigning. This little storefront houses a hair salon now, but in 1960 it was Pell's West Warwick campaign headquarters. Pell needed a strong presence in this mill town. Back then, his Republican opponent was a member of a very prominent local family, the Archambaults. The grassroots campaigning paid off. In 1960, Pell easily defeated West Warwick's Rowell Archambault Jr. In 1966, it was Pell over Ruth Briggs of Bristol, another easy victory. It was the 1972 election that was perhaps Pell's biggest challenge. Another well-known, popular veteran politician, ex-Governor John Chafee, tried to unseat Pell.
As if Congress isn't prepared to limit itself its own spending, and apparently they're not, and that's the most discouraging thing about both the House and the Senate.
It's always said that Congress overspends. Actually, I had the figures added up, and in the last 4 years, the overall cutting that Congress did at the President's request was $14.5 billion.
The irony here is that although Chafee was unsuccessful, he did become Rhode Island's other U.S. Senator later on. Pell beat Chafee in 1972 by about 33,000 votes. From there, the victories were easier. Pell beat Barrington businessman Jim Reynolds in 1978. Businesswoman Barbara Leonard in 1984, and Congresswoman Claudine Schneider in 1990. Pell's secure position in the eyes of Rhode Island voters allowed him to spend less time campaigning and more time on the foreign and domestic policy issues of which he is so knowledgeable. From his earliest days in the Senate, Pell was a nationally known figure. Here, part of a delegation in 1963 to visit the president of South Vietnam, as America was beginning to increase its presence in Southeast Asia.
The president simply talked at us for 3 hours or more, not giving us an opportunity to say anything.
It was this encounter that led Pell to believe the South Vietnamese were not worth fighting for, and he became a leading anti-war spokesman.
I'm opposed to any escalation of the bombing, any commitment of further American vessels and aircraft.
At the United Nations in 1970, Pell sharply criticized the North Vietnamese for their treatment of prisoners of war.
I believe it is obvious that the North Vietnamese have merely made an attempt to cast a veil over their refusal to accord proper and reasonable treatment of the prisoners or permit access to them. In fact, they have signaled their intent to use these unfortunate captured military men as political pawns.
Pell has long been one of the Senate's most liberal members.
And I certainly intend to support Senator McGovern now.
Even though George McGovern only carried 2 states in the 1972 presidential race, Rhode Island was not among them. Pell mingled with presidents.
I'm delighted and pleased to present this special Bible to you. Sure.
And domestically, he sponsored legislation creating, among other things, the National Endowment for the Arts, Pell Grants for college students, maritime law, and the United Nations Charter. If there is any shadow over this illustrious career, it is that many of Pell's pet programs now face cutback or extinction, as the much more conservative Republicans now dominate Washington politics. Frank Coletta, News Channel 10.
In fact, the senator said at his news conference today that he is anguished, to use his word, about having to leave Washington, knowing that the budget cutters, as he called them, may damage the programs that he helped to create. From the fear of a nuclear showdown to the fall of communism, Senator Pell's close to 36 years bring with him plenty of memories. A one-on-one conversation with Rhode Island's senior senator is still to come.
Well, I almost felt this way 6 years ago and was persuaded to run. And this time I decided not to. I don't know what it was. I guess brutally honest, fewer people asked me to stay on.
He set a standard for courtesy that has been not exceeded, I believe. He's unfailingly courteous and polite. And secondly, he has very high personal standards. And there's no whiff of scandal connected in any fashion with Senator Pell for his 36 years of service. And I might say in Rhode Island that's pretty unique.
That, of course, was junior Senator John Chafee. Until the end of his term, Senator Pell says he has every intention of carrying a full schedule. There was the announcement in Providence this morning, for example, then a flight right back to the Capitol to attend today's Senate session, which is expected to go very late into the evening. But he was kind enough today to slow down a bit for a conversation. I've heard so many of your longtime friends, not the least of whom was your first campaign manager, John Lewis.
Correct.
He was telling us the story about how he came to know you. And I'm really touched, as I'm sure you are, by the numbers of people who have come today to say hello and thank you. It's been a long ride and a good ride. You must be very proud.
I am, and it's wonderful to see old friends like John Lewis, like Catherine Cullinan, others who were with me in 1960 here today, and I'm really touched at the turnout.
You alluded to the fact that your health was not the primary reason. It was part of the consideration that you chose not to run for re-election. What were some of the other considerations broached by members of the family?
They felt that the stress was pretty tough on me. The hours were pretty tough. I wasn't seeing as much of the family as I would have liked, although they did not broach that. And it's just as with everything, there's a season. And it's the same way as you'd be very puzzled if in midwinter the roses started sprouting, or vice versa. And at a certain season in one's life, one changes one's interests and moves on. I tried, for example, I gave up playing tennis 15, 20 years ago. I tried again, thought I might take it up a couple of days ago. It didn't work, so I'm going to leave tennis alone.
You speak about the hectic schedule that you keep. I know that because I saw evidence of it firsthand when we visited with you for 2 straight days. Are you still doing the Georgetown Shuffle in the morning?
Yes, not every day, about every second or third day. And take about 30 minutes, 25 minutes, enough to get a good sweat. And if I didn't do that, I think I'd feel very badly. I know if I miss exercise, there's a vacuum in my life.
You've had the privilege of serving as the chairman of one of the most prestigious committees in the Senate. I'm sure you miss it, having to yield your chairmanship to Senator Jesse Helms. Has that been frustrating for you to watch his work from a bit of a distance?
I have many friendly feelings towards him personally, but his politics I disagree with. In politics, you learn you can like people with whom you disagree, and you can dislike people with whom you agree. And Senator Helms is one who individually or personally I like, but with whose politics I strongly disagree.
I was speaking with Tom Hughes, your longtime and trusted aide. He's visiting today, too, and it was nice to reacquaint myself with him, even if briefly. I said to him, and I'll say to you, I can't imagine that Claiborne Pell is simply going to pack up his things and come back to Ledge Road in Newport and go into retirement. You have, after all, announced only that you will not seek re-election. You have not indicated that you are in any way desirous of resigning from public service. What kinds of opportunities would you consider?
I really wouldn't want to even speculate on that at this time. I do expect, as I said in my statement, to be busy in the public wheel, and what particular aspects of it, I don't know. I have some thoughts, but I'd rather not discuss them until they become better formed.
Are there other Democrats who have indicated a desire to succeed you, with whom you could build an alliance? Do you plan right now to campaign actively for whoever it is who is?
As we come into the election season, I will be, as I mentioned, supportive of my party's candidate.
Would you prefer Jack Reed?
He'd be very good, but I think it's, one, he hasn't declared himself, and two, I think it's a little premature let's keep the cork in the bottle for a little bit longer.
I know that you take tremendous pride of authorship in the law of the sea treaty and many other considerations of great import, great historical significance have come across your desk and before your committee. over the past 36 years?
One of my real disappointments has been the Law of the Sea Treaty, which I've been working on since 1967 and 68, has been stymied for the time being. And Senator Helms, who's my successor as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and the Republicans have been holding it up. I would hope we could get it through. I'd rather get that treaty through than almost any other on which I've been working.
You mentioned that the Law of the Sea Treaty represents probably one of the disappointments that you've had over your long career, but let's dwell on some of the achievements, some of the victories, some of the happy turns that your career has taken. What, as you look back, give me two examples of things of which you are especially proud.
No weapons of mass destruction on the seabed floor, which removes 70% of the Earth's surface from the possible nuclear use, and Pell Grants, which more than 54 million have been given out in the United States.
Did everybody have a vote on this decision in your home?
Everybody thought it was time to retire. No, not retire, time not to run again. I don't feel myself going in retirement. I hope to be busy and productively engaged.
Thank you again.
Great.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Pell points out now that for 6 decades, a forward-thinking Democrat, as he has described himself, has filled the Senate seat. But what is the future going to hold? We'll have a look ahead, still to come.
My advice would be exactly that to a younger person starting out now. Quickly acquire a reputation with working and thinking positively, and that will bring him 10% more than he would get otherwise. He or she would get otherwise.
Senator Pell has been a remarkable leader. He's made our state very proud. He's made this country a stronger place. And I just, can't say enough about him. He's a wonderful man, and I think he's known by everyone in the state as a man of great integrity and as someone who is unique in the United States Senate and in the political landscape as having enormous credibility and integrity.
First-term congressional representative Patrick Kennedy. Well, Senator Pell's departure could bring about a drastic change in Rhode Island's political landscape. No one has officially announced candidacy for his seat, but there's plenty of speculation, as you might imagine, from Attorney General Jeffrey Pine and Treasurer Nancy Mayer to Congressman Jack Reed.
I think that the Congressman, Jack Reed, would make a very good senator, but it's still premature. He may have other plans and ideas. Well, I think he's a singularly able individual, and if he is the candidate, I think he'd be a winning one.
I will take the next few days or weeks to consider carefully how I can best serve the state of Rhode Island, make a decision, and make it public at that time.
Vice President Gore contacted you today. What did he have to say?
He just called and wished me well.
My understanding, Nancy Mayer's interested General Treasurer. She's done a wonderful job as General Treasurer of our state. Would be outstanding as a senator, and others may be looking at it likewise.
Keep in mind the senator's announcement was made just this morning. Visitors to Senator Pell's coveted hideaway office on the Hill, his office in the Senate building, the family home in Georgetown, or his beloved Pelican Lodge in Newport are struck by reminders that this great statesman of ours has not only lived lots of American history, but also has played an important part in its authorship. Senator Claiborne Pell is Rhode Island's senator. A perfect example is the portrait of George Mifflin Dallas, Vice President of the United States in the early 1800s. He was Noela Pell's great-great-great-granduncle. He also negotiated the Louisiana Purchase. The document, the original, not a copy, hangs on the senator's office wall.
And then where do you go from here?
I'm going to go to lunch. They're going to meet with
A typical day for the quiet statesman might include a visit by a college student from back home, a conference of artists, a few quick trips up the one flight of stairs for a vote on the Senate floor, and, oh yes, the luncheon with Jordan's King Hussein.
U.S. Army is required by national legislation to destroy all chemical weapons.
Also sprinkled in could be testimony before his beloved Foreign Relations Committee by the nation's top-ranking military leaders and a fundraiser for President Clinton. His day often begins at 7 o'clock in the morning with some very slow jogging and some calisthenics, and just as frequently ends after 11 p.m. The man purposely strides from stop to stop, every once in a while checking his closely protected appointment card.
We're glad to be looking forward to that debate.
He always makes time for another member of New England's congressional delegation, seemingly mindful that any day he might need one more vote or one more speech of support on a piece of legislation he holds dear.
Why I was calling, Admiral, was in connection with the ADCAP torpedo. As you probably have heard, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee approved it.
He answers phone calls, he reads his mail, and he takes a good deal of pride in knowing that while he has the ability and the good fortune to mingle with the world's movers and shakers, he is, after all, responsible for getting the business of his constituents accomplished in a timely and well-negotiated manner.
Nice to see you again.
Mr. Simmons. Thank you very much for receiving us. I'm so thrilled to see you.
His staff members are often amazed at his work ethic and his stamina. The senator's work schedule, with very little private time for reflection, would exhaust a less determined politician half his age. And despite what some people see only from their television images or newspaper articles about the man, he does have a bit of an impish sense of humor. He tells visitors, for example, that sometimes he checks in at conferences or other gatherings for which he has already done his homework, and he scoops up his name tag so that people who want to take up his time unnecessarily actually think he attended their meeting. Make no mistake about it, though, when it comes time to vote or to listen to testimony regarding what he feels is critical legislation, you have Claiborne Pell's full attention.
I mention it only because
one piece of advice if you are given the chance to make a point with the senator: because he has done his homework, he expects you to have done yours. So, Newport's country gentleman has decided to end his career in the so-called 100 Club. 36 highly productive and scandal-free years of public service is a record that most politicians see only in their dreams. He good-naturedly endures the teasing about his genteel upbringing and his many quirks and idiosyncrasies and eccentricities. And while some of the flashier members of Congress, to be sure, have generated more pages of copy over the years, he's been busy trying to make a difference concerning issues affecting our young people, our seniors, and everybody in between. He can make presidents, kings, and college students feel that what they're telling him is the most important thing he's heard since breakfast. He is not ready to retire from public service, thankfully. Hopefully, somebody somewhere in government will be astute enough to continue to utilize this great man's wisdom, wit, and peacekeeping skills. Claiborne Pell has had a thrilling and history-making ride. Congratulations, Senator, and thank you. We leave you this evening by reflecting on the Senator's long career. Thank you very much for being with us. We hope to see you tonight at 11. Have a pleasant evening.
It's okay now. Goodbye, my friend.
Madam Chairman, I address myself today to the particular viewpoint of our own United States national interest.
This is why I want to go back to Congress, to spend less on defense and space and more on health and education.
I see a lot of things that make me crazy, and I guess I held on to you. You could have run away and left, well maybe, but it wasn't time and we both knew. So goodbye, my friend, but the love